and I'm a farmer. I'm an organic farmer. Why don't we go out here and just have a quick look at one of our fields. We've got, our fields are basically surrounding this whole place here. And so this one here, we grow year-round, so it's been a passion of mine since I moved south from up north, where we had a very short growing season. And I was real excited to have the possibility of stretching crops much later in the fall and starting much earlier in the spring. And I kept pushing and stretching like that, and all of a sudden, where there was no end and no beginning, we're year-round now. So, especially with the help of these tunnels. So, we have 5 of these tunnels like this, and then a larger scale one up on the hill there. And with the help of those tunnels, and then some of these covers like this, we're growing crops, cool season crops, all winter long, and harvesting them all winter. And we have fairly even production year-round now. And some of the advantages of that for me are that we spread out our labor over the whole year. So like, I have interns that work with me, and so like farmers who just have seasonal help, they might have like provide housing for their workers, but then they have housing sitting there empty for half the year or whatever. And for me, I can keep everything busy equally year-round. And I'm pretty much just as busy in January as I am in July here. It's pretty crazy to have that. Of course, there's a danger in that I never get to have any time off. And that's sort of I've gotten into that rut the past couple of years where I sort of had to sneak away to visit my family for just 1 week once in a while up north. But I have central New York. I have friends up there because I was farming up there for 27 years, and I have friends up there that are, I'm visiting them less and less often because I'm just so preoccupied with this year-round farming that we're doing here. But there's an aspect of it that's really exciting to me, because it's, to me, in a temperate area where you have this long winter, most vegetable production happens more in the warmer months. And if we're talking about trying to have, you know, a local food supply, what about the winter, you know? And so like, for me, it's, well, with a few devices like this and a lot of little tricks and using varieties that are extra hardy. There's a guy that's actually breeding crops for winter hardiness. There's probably more than him, but I know of a farmer over in Maryland that's breeding, pretty similar climate to ours, and he's breeding crops to be extra hardy in the wintertime and be able to handle extreme cold and wind and all that, and still be productive in the wintertime. And I'm doing my own plant breeding here, but I'm working more on certain crops that I really like, that I think people should be eating more of. So my biggest emphasis is on sweet peppers, and we're just kind of getting into that season now. But I grow like a lot of different varieties of sweet peppers. I've been working with some of the heirloom varieties that have way better flavor than what you can buy in the supermarket. We're talking about red and yellow and orange sweet peppers. Some of you may know, if you've done any gardening, that a green pepper is actually an immature pepper. If that green bell pepper had been left on the plant longer, it would have eventually turned either red or orange or yellow or brown. There's actually some that look like chocolate colored, and they're actually, that's usually in the name. We've been growing a variety called Chocolate Beauty that I've been selecting for adapting it to our conditions here. And I finally renamed it Chocolate Cake. I needed to give it a new name, so I came up with that one. But and it's in a seed catalog in Asheville. There's a small seed company there called So True Seeds. And they buy, like, I don't know, they carry about 5, 6 of my pepper varieties right now that I've been developing here at my farm. My next step in this process of getting the world to use my pepper varieties is to get some other growers in the area to be using my varieties. I've already got like 5 or 6 that are trying mine last year and this year, just to see how the ones that I think perform really well and are really valuable genetics, I had to find out whether the other growers experience the same thing when they grow it on their farms, because the conditions are different and their marketing needs are different, and a goal of mine is to have a lot more people eating a lot more sweet peppers, because I think of them as a superfood. They're very nutritious. If they were a major vegetable in people's diets, people would be a lot healthier. That's sort of the bottom line thing.
Problem is in the supermarket they're so expensive.
They're expensive, and we've done taste tests for 4 years. Pardon me, 4 years in a row now. We've done a taste test here, and it's actually become a festival. You're all welcome to come in October. You've heard about the Pepper Festival? So that all started 4 years ago. Right here in this yard, we had a little tasting event. We put out 40 varieties of peppers. About 25 of them were, no, about 20 of them were my breeding lines, and the other half were hybrids that I was doing variety trials. Variety trial means you're taking a variety and growing it and comparing it with other varieties. And I was doing that on a contracted basis for a seed company out in New Mexico called Seeds of Change. They were looking for varieties that would work well in the humid southeast, and they also wanted to, they're trying to expand the offering in their catalog, but they need growers like myself to test them out. So I was testing all their hybrids and noticing, like, wow, I've been breeding my own, and these are really flat tasting compared to mine, you know. And so to confirm that, we did this big pepper tasting, and sure enough, you know, it was like, well, it was not disguised or blindfolded, but in other words, there was a plate of cut up peppers there, but you didn't know, it just had a number on it. You don't know whether it's what the name of it is or where it came from. All you're doing is, as a taster in this event, is just tasting them and rating them. You know, sweetness, texture, skin texture, juiciness, stuff like that, overall flavor. And 2 or 3 of my varieties were the very top, and then several other of mine were just below that. Most of the hybrids scored a lot lower, and that confirmed my impressions of it too. And see, the thing is, they've been breeding these varieties to be good for the growers. So they're very productive and uniform, and the tendency has been to do the green bell peppers because they ship better and you get a higher yield. If you keep picking the green peppers off of the plant is stimulated to make more. If you leave them on to ripen, you get a lower total yield. That's one reason why they cost a lot more. And they don't store quite as well. The red ones, or the yellow ones, don't store quite as well as the green ones do. So most of the trends in the sweet pepper industry have been for the convenience and profit of the grower, not for the enjoyment of the consumer. So meanwhile, consumers are missing out on that delicious flavor. I wish I had some ripe ones just to give you right now. We actually have a whole new crop. We've got some in our greenhouse that overwintered. The plants were already like 8 feet tall last November, and we actually had to bend them down to put protective covers over them during the cold weather to keep them alive. And now, of course, there's no cover on them. They're still inside the greenhouse, and they're flowering and fruiting, so very soon we're going to have a whole new crop of peppers on there. But which is pretty much unheard of around here, to have peppers in this time of year, unless you have a heated greenhouse type of situation. But so I'm obviously very excited about this pepper thing, and I think that there's a lot of growers in this area that could be making a lot more money too. So I actually submitted 2 different grant proposals, which were among hundreds. You know, like ever since the downturn in the economy, a lot of growers and other people that have anything connected with agriculture have been, you know, it's just a lot more people looking for any grant money that's out there to supplement their income, and so there's a lot of competition for grants. But I tried through the specialty crops, USDA specialty crops program, and then through another thing called Sustainable Ag Research and Education. Those are both federal programs. I submitted proposals to both of those to do like continued refinement of my varieties, getting the varieties out to farms, to trialed, getting feedback from the growers, giving them point of sale information so that they could educate their consumers about the healthful properties of sweet peppers, and then finding out what the consumers think of these too, and just sort of like going on this theory that a lot more people could be eating peppers and a lot more growers could be profiting from that increased consumer demand for these very tasty and healthy foods, and it's just like a win-win-win thing. And I still have like a lot of confidence in these peppers. I'm not a very good marketer, so that's sort of not my forte, and I haven't really devoted the time to sort of like getting my genetics out there to the world, but I think I've got something really great. I'm just sort of like waiting for the right business partner to come along who's good at that part of it and helps me get my peppers out there. I mean, I have seed catalogs, small seed companies that are trialing my peppers in their variety trials this year. I've got 4 different seed companies this year that are putting my peppers to the test, comparing them with other ones. Unfortunately, 3 of those companies are up north, and I'm breeding these in a much longer season where it's easy to grow very productive peppers, and they haven't really been tested well. It'll be interesting to see how they work. A lot of the best organic seed companies are up north. That's just sort of where the industry has flourished, because there's a lot of organic growing up there. And so I guess I'm going to find out whether any of my varieties work well. It's going to be real interesting for me. I'm really going to be curious to find out whether they find... I know mine are very productive and would work well here. There's just not any southern-based seed companies other than really tiny ones like this one in Asheville. There's one in Virginia, so it's called Southern Exposure Seed Exchange. And they're trialing some of mine this year too. I'm guessing that they're probably going to enjoy some of mine, and I'll probably be getting orders this fall for some of my seeds to go in their catalog. But I don't know. And then the other aspect of this is if I suddenly get a demand and I have like 3 or 4 varieties that some of these companies want, then I have to like scale up my production of peppers, because one big pepper fruit, some of my varieties are really big fruits, by the way. They're like that size of the fruit. And sometimes they have a few more seeds in them when they're big, sometimes they're not. So that's another whole tricky part of it is I only get about 200 or 300 seeds out of one pepper fruit. And these big beautiful fruits, I can sell a fruit like that for $2 in the farmer's market. So there's a question, the seeds that I take out of there, I have to destroy the pepper to get the seeds out. I can't sell the pepper anymore. Are they worth, $2, especially since I have to dry the seeds and package them and send them off, and there's extra steps involved. Like, I've destroyed this $2 pepper to get the seeds out, and like, can I get a premium for these seeds to make up for the fact that I could have sold that pepper? So there's all these questions I'm just getting into with the seed industry aspect of it. I may actually end up finding, one of my hopes is to find chefs in restaurants where they use a lot of peppers. I've done this twice now, and it worked well in one situation and not in another, but I went there and I said, okay, so you've been buying my peppers. Can I ask you to take this full case of this one variety and have only this variety in your kitchen for the next week? Because I'm worried that they're going to mix them up with other... That would be a disaster if my seeds got mixed. But anyways, when you cook these sweet peppers, you're going to have to take the seeds out. You usually just throw them in your compost, right? Well, I'm going to give you a reduced price on my peppers if you get to take the part that you want, which is the flesh. And all you have to do is give me back the seeds, and I'll deal with them from there. And you've done me a favor. You've taken the pepper apart and given me the seeds, so that's saved me some labor. And I've given you a deal. And the only tricky thing is, you've got to be really careful that all your staff is trained to know that these are the only peppers they're going to be handling on any particular day. So there's no chance. Because one of these other restaurants I did that with, and I asked them to agree to that, and I even had a friend who knew a lot about seed saving who worked there, and the problem was they used them so slowly, and they had some other peppers in their cooler, and they had like 10 different people at different times of the week cooking there, and they just did not get the word out thoroughly to everybody there. And so by the time they got to the end of my batch of peppers, there were some other ones being cooked in the same kitchen, and there was a chance that they got mixed up. And it turned out that they were pure, actually, because I did grow some of that seed lot, but the quality of the seed was pretty low, and I never even found out why. I don't even know what happened under their care. I didn't get to see how they handled them, but the germination was kind of low, and I don't even know why. And so it seems like maybe like a food business where they make pickled peppers or salsas or something like that, where they could use a few bushels at a time. I could team up with them and get my seed crop, get a value from the flesh. Maybe I'd get a $1 per pepper instead of $2 per pepper. And then I would get my seeds back, and everybody would gain from that, and I wouldn't feel like I was just destroying this pepper and throwing it in the compost. I mean, there's only so many peppers that I and my interns can eat in 1 year when I'm saving a lot of seeds, right? Right now we kind of have them in the freezer and we eat them pretty often, but anyways, that's giving you a little glimpse into one of the research aspects of my farm. I really want my farm to be going more and more in that direction of being a research farm, because there's just so many exciting things that we could be doing in the realm of plant breeding, seed saving. Another big thing that we're doing here is we make all of our own potting mix. So most potting mix on most vegetable farms is the basic ingredient is peat moss, which is strip mined up in Canada in particular, in Quebec in particular, and that's a non-renewable resource. It's just like these big peat bogs that they're just strip mining and grinding it up and selling it in bags to everybody all over the world for their potting mix. And we use all on-farm composted ingredients in our potting mix, and it's been tricky kind of getting the formula just right. It's been years and years of working on that, and we're assisted by our worm crew. We have thousands of worms that are digesting some of our ingredients. Have you all seen worm composting before? Have any of you seen worm composting? We should go over and look at that.
Yeah, we have.
Going on at the campus?
Well, I gotta go first.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh. There's worm composting going on?
Like one house that's sustainable theme, and they do their own compost.
Cool. Uh-huh. The rest of you, have you ever been involved in worm composting?
Not worm